And I will now turn it over to Minority Leader Joseph Borelli, who is present to make a statement on Reso 5.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for indulging us by giving us this opportunity to have this hearing about an issue that, frankly, I think most people would have assumed we would not still be talking about in 2024. I had some prepared remarks, but today when I got here and I saw all of the people here to testify on this resolution about the vaccine mandates, I was struck by the irony in that you folks aren't in your firehouses or your schools or your DOT garages or wherever. And you're not there because you're some sort of cootie-written plague carrier or something. And yet here you are, and not one of you was stopped before coming into City Hall. Not one of you was asked whether you were vaccinated. Not one of you was required to put on a mask. Our friends here from the administration, although not responsible for this policy, I noticed none of them are in spacesuits out of fear that they might contract some horrible disease from you. And yet you are terminated from your employment, which for all of you was exemplary and fine. None of you are terminated for any other reasons. You're terminated because you refused to take a vaccine. So you can't go to your firehouse, you can't go to your school, you can't go to your DEP plant, but here you are, just feet away from the mayor's office. You just walk through the room where all of the policies of the cities are made. You're in a committee room where policy for the entire city is routinely discussed and made. You're in the nerve center, the heartbeat of the city, and there's no problem with you here. But because of a wrong policy that was implemented, that is the only reason you don't have your job. And now it's easy to say because we know it was a wrong policy. If we look at the timeline, December 6, 2021, Mayor de Blasio announces a vaccine mandate. February 11th, a few months later, 1,780 city employees, some of them are here, were fired due to non-compliance with the COVID vaccine mandate. Just 6 months later to the day, August 11th, 6 months. Now, I mean, just think about how many terrible policies are made in this building that go way longer than 6 months, all the time. We make bad policy professionally here, and it stays in place for years. But this policy was so fundamentally flawed and so stupid that the CDC, the follow the science people, the brain surgeons, literally, they said, oh, no, no, no. The CDC issues new guidance, acknowledging that vaccines do not prevent community spread, acknowledging that their own recommendations no longer ask for mass vaccination policies, concluding, quote, there are no public health benefits sweeping COVID-19 vaccine mandates, meaning there is no benefit for us to having this policy. And at that point, or really September 20th, when the mayor acknowledged that we're no longer to have a vaccine policy going forward, right, this would have been the great time to say, hey, you know what? We had this COVID crisis. We did the best we could. We followed the science, but when the science changed, we changed our policy. That would have been the right thing to do. But instead, the administration still refuses to acknowledge that their policy in terminating over 1,000 employees was the wrong decision. I would say you were treated like plague victims, but the truth is if you had the bubonic plague, you'd still have your civil service protections, you'd still be protected by HIPAA, you'd still have your job, and we'd be paying through your health benefits for the treatment you'd be receiving. So you're treated worse than plague victims. And that's why this hearing is so important, not just to give a voice to you, but to give a voice from City Hall and hopefully acknowledge that this policy has been wrong for over 2 years. So thank you.